also confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So are we to wait for a while or how do you want it?
We are ready.
Okay. So Miracle, should I go ahead? Because you told me
Yes,
there are
sir.
about 20 students in it.
Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead then. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I am Engineer Odibo. I'll be taking you air conditioning maintenance. So I believe we have diverse students in the class. So sometimes I break all my training down for your easier understanding. So before we start, I will do a brief introduction. So these are the things we are going to learn. The HVAC maintenance itself, facilitator profile, housekeeping ground rules, then the outline module. Then if we have not seen AC before, this is how AC look like. Or if you have not worked on it, this is how it look like. This is what makes your building cool. This is what give you the comfort you all desire in the house. So that is it. I'm Engineer Odibo Edesi Rogene. I'm from Delta State. I have passion for air conditioning system. I've been trained locally and I've also been trained somewhere in Europe, Netherlands to be more precise, on air conditioning system. So I speak with authority on this. So I will implore you to take notes where necessary, then make jotting when necessary, then you raise your hand when necessary also. Then don't forget the facilitator profile. I am a facility manager. That was 7 years ago. I'm going to 10 years in facility management now. Trained HVAC, both local and international, graduate from Ambrose Ali University. I studied mechanical engineering. I had my master's in facility management in Unilag. I'm certified member of Pro FM credentials. I've gained experience working with Mandalas back then, Michael Amon, MECON, Global PFI, and the present CBRA. I also work as a consultant also, little. Then I also a mentor. Then I could also assist you if you have issues in your building. These are the value we bring to the student on this program. Then after completing this course, students will be able to explain. You will help me to moderate the people going in and out. I see the Idris Akinyemi want to enter. Is blocking the view. I don't know if I can move this a little bit up. I can't move it. Okay, I can't see it. So what we are going to learn, explain various components of AC. As AC work, there are four major components we are going to talk about. Some of them are actually can be related to items or objects within our system. There are things that are very important that I will point out to all to hear. Then after that, we are going to take understanding of HVAC maintenance because one of the culture we lack mainly in Nigeria is the maintenance culture. So if you separate the public sector and away from the private sector, you see that the difference between them is the intention for them to maintain their property away from the public sector. So you going into the field as facility management, how often do you maintain your facility? How often do you take care of it? So my area, we speak more on HVAC. Then we still go to understanding various HVAC type. In every building, you see they have cooling system. You ask yourself, what kind of cooling system do they have? Are they using split unit? Are they using window unit? Are they using VRF? Is it an industrial unit? Is it a chiller system? Is it an absorption chiller? There are various types. All aim is to cool the building itself. Then you have knowledge of some basic problem of HVAC component. After you have understood what maintenance is all about, you also understand there are basic problems that come with AC that you need to have understanding about. Students are expected to know how to carry out audits and prepare a checklist. Sometimes most of us take on a liability before we enter into a building or take up a project. We are supposed to know the condition of a unit, of a building or a unit before you take full control of that building. Also, I will also explain a little bit about ventilation. Ventilation is very important in AC. So I will talk more on that. So these are the course outline: introduction, key component of HVAC, type, problem, conditional assessment, audit checklist, HVAC installation factors and tricks, then ventilation, then we conclude. So this will run through, it's a 95 page, so we'll run through it. Please, I would suggest you keep your question till the end of the class. Then if the lecture start, I expect everybody to be on mute while the training is ongoing. Then introduction, HVAC maintenance. What do we mean by maintenance? Maintenance, you can define maintenance in your own term, in any way you want to define, but there are key things you must put into it. Maintenance in general can be defined as an effort taken. When I say an effort, somebody is intentional about making this thing not break down. Somebody is intentional that this thing should continue to be running continuously. Somebody is planning to ensure that this particular object serve the purpose to which it was bought. You know, there are some building, and I won't be surprised that some of us must have been in a building where AC have never been maintained throughout the lifespan of that AC. During some of the classes I have in the past, we've seen students that said that AC in their building have never been maintained. They use the AC that way. And at the end of this class, I will expect you guys to adopt a new approach to your AC maintenance. Like I said, it's an effort taken to keep the condition and performance. Condition, that is what it is now. The performance as it is working of the machine, always like the condition and performance of the machine where it is still new. So in a layman term, is to ensure that the equipment does not break down. That is in summary of a layman. The equipment, those efforts you take to ensure that the equipment doesn't break down is what we classify as maintenance. So you have to be intentional with it. So you ask yourself, what type of maintenance do we have? People will look at maintenance have type again. Yes, it has type. So what are the type we have? We have the reactive and unplanned type, which happen that most of us in Nigeria fall into this group. So when I say we fall into this group, I'm not just narrowing it to AC alone. I'm generalizing the culture within Nigeria. So if you go through our program is to change the narrative. Our program is to change your orientation. And so you'll be one of the best FM that is running a particular building or a region or whatever facility you are managing. So the attitude is to move you from reactive into proactive. So what do we see under reactive or unplanned maintenance? Something you didn't plan for, expect corrective action and expect lot of emergency. Just imagine you are running AC in a building where they are having board meeting. In the middle of the board meeting, the AC breakdown, or you started experiencing water dripping from the AC on the table where they are having their board meeting. How will you feel when you are being called as an FM that what is all this? Why didn't you service the AC before this meeting? Why did you do the needful before the AC? You start answering questions you should have done before the board meeting. To you, it might not be. For those of us that are working in corporate environment, you see that AC is a key factor of every building. Then if you are not running for emergency, every time corrective measures is being taken. Either you hear that the filters are bad today, tomorrow the compressor is running bad, then the next day the capacitor has issues, there's leakage in the system, all kinds of corrective measures. And don't forget, those corrective measures are adding up to increasing your budget. As an FM, you have limited resources. You have limited what? You have limited cost to run your building. So if you keep depleting your budget, at the end of the year, you will run at what? At a loss. Then the other one you will also talk about is proactive and the planned one. This is what we are moving our team to. Under proactive or planned type, we have what they call preventive maintenance, and we have what they call predictive maintenance. Under preventive maintenance, we have the constant interval, we have the age-based, you have the imperfect type. When we talk about the constant interval, every AC, brand new, come with a manual. In that manual, there are procedures you need to follow to ensure that the equipment is running fine. So you ask yourself, Constant interval, what does it mean? Constant interval could be a monthly maintenance that you must religiously follow. That means if you have done your maintenance for January, February is another one, March, and you must follow it concurrently. And sometimes it will be a quarterly maintenance. If you have done your maintenance quarterly, quarterly means 1/4 multiplied by 12. We have 12 months in a year, so a quarter of that will give you 3 months. So every 3 months, you schedule your AC maintenance to be maintained. So why we call it constant interval is that you check the condition within your environment to do your AC maintenance. So when I say constant interval, it could be 6 months, it could be once in a year. So do not adopt the system from facility A and bring it to facility B, because every site have their own peculiarities. Your AC might be installed in a very dusty environment. AC might also be installed in a clean environment. If you don't consider that, every action you take will have direct impact on your budget. If you have quoted for a budget to run your AC maintenance for your building for a quarterly maintenance, and you end up now discovering that the AC were installed in a dusty environment and your maintenance need to be done every month, you know you have already your decision have already affected your budget. So you need to plan hard and see what type of preventive maintenance you need to adopt. There's another type they call the age-based. Age-based, there are some equipment that have worked over time. In as much as you are doing constant interval, you just say, this equipment is having some issues. Let us find a way of doing a general maintenance on that equipment. These are assumption based, or they are not 100% perfect. These are systems to checkmate that a particular system is running. And don't forget, in this constant interval, if the ACs have not been used for a while, the filters might be clean. But because they said it is constant interval, every 3 months you must maintain it. Because somehow there might be some dust that have settled on the filter that you need to clean. It might not be as much dirt as you can imagine, but it must be maintained. Because once you skip one set of the maintenance that you are supposed to do 4 times in a year, so what does it mean? It will take you another 6 months for the ACs to be maintained. And by that time, components within the AC might be having issues. Your filters, if they are not well maintained, they can actually serve as a blockage in your AC. They could affect the cooling within the building. They could actually affect the efficiency of your compressor. And if care is not taken, your compressor can be replaced. You might say that it's just a little filter. It matters a lot. I give you an example. You know our nose, we use it to breathe in and breathe out. As small as it is, if the two noses block, what happens? In order for us to keep ourselves in the survival mode, we open our mouth to gaps for air until we clear our nose. Those that have catarrh, those that have cough, we understand clearly what I'm saying. If one of your nose is blocked, you see how comfortable your body will be. So just imagine your filters is blocked. There's a direct impact on one component within the AC that we eat that impact. And if your budget is limited and the cost of repair is not planned, then you end up spending more on buying doing repairs on your AC. And the most expensive component in your AC this present day is your compressor. So we talk of the imperfect type. Imperfect type could be quarterly mixed with a 6 month mixed with one annual maintenance. There are some maintenance that are physically done. You might go around and see that some flexible cable, Armaflex, are off your AC pipes. You might just decide, okay, let us change this. So there are some maintenance that are done, not the way you think. There are some maintenance that actually involve probably insulation. There are some maintenance that involve just washing the filters, washing the outdoor condenser unit, washing all those major components to keep it working. Then the other type that is cost effective in the long run, but in the short run, very expensive to maintain, is the predictive type of maintenance. It's actually the opposite of preventive. Preventive use constant interval, while predictive is that there is a pattern. If the equipment is working fine, that it will give you. Just like most of us that do, if you have done algebra, when you are plotting on y and x-axis, there's a particular pattern that gives you a particular equation. You understand? So if that pattern is being followed, because this involves you collecting data and feeding it somewhere. So that pattern shows you that the equipment is working. What is the advantage of this is that sometimes the equipment could actually work beyond 3 months. The equipment could actually work beyond 4 months or 6 months before they start deviating from the norms of the AC. So in the long run, it will save you cost. But in the very beginning, all the equipment and the things you will buy will cost you a lot more. So this system is actually adopted in bigger units and in oil companies and those that can afford it, maybe head offices and the rest. They have BMS and the rest that monitor the functionality of AC components that are critical to the running function of the company. So under that, you have the reliability centered and you have the condition based. So we go to the next. So our focus will be on planned preventive maintenance. Planned preventive maintenance is a regular and routine maintenance of equipment and asset. When they measure asset, the simple definition of asset is something that brings value, something that is of value. So you might ask, what is an asset? Your car can be an asset. Anything that is bringing money, anything that is generating revenue could be tagged as an asset. You could be a taxi driver. So if you have a car, that car could be an asset, something bringing. It could be your building. You know, there are some people that build and they let out the building. So the building itself becomes an asset because you are using that to generate fund for yourself. But in this context, we are talking about your AC. There are some assets that needs you to increase the value of your building or your facility. There are some building you go to, if there are no AC there, the value of that property goes down. You know, a good example, a good analogy is those of us that have been to my 12 market before, and those of us that have been to ShopRite. The two are markets, but one is well packaged and the other is not well packaged. You buy tomatoes in the market in my 12, you also buy tomatoes in ShopRite. What makes them different is the packaging. The ShopRite make sure they have an enclosed place, created a conducive environment with AC. You know, people go in, even family that are not doing anything, they just go in, they shop around, they try to see some nice things and the rest. But you can't do that with my 12 markets because you know it's rainy season now, you can't enter the market. But ShopRite, anytime, any day, you can go in there. And what makes this thing possible for us? Your air conditioning system and other assets that they put. Can edit, can you mute, please? I don't know. Is that edit? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. So what I've said is something that is bringing value to you. So as an FM, once you are being given a site, that site and all the components in that building become your asset. You need to take care of them and you need to generate more revenue for them. And if you are not generating revenue, what do? You reduce your operational cost on the building. That is what gives you value as an FM. That is what sets you aside from the other FM. So I've explained what asset means. So that is equipment and asset in order to keep them running and prevent any costly or planned downtime. Because if you don't practice maintenance culture in your facility, you'll be expecting unplanned downtime from unexpected equipment failure or breakdown. You see series of breakdown, cost of buying parts is increasing, and you know Nigeria does not produce. The compressor you buy last week will be different from the cost you are going to buy next week. So these are things you need to look up to and start changing your attitude. You plan ahead and ensure your equipment follow the process that is required to keep them running continuously. Then a successful maintenance strategies require planning. Now, like I said in the beginning of our class, I said it is a deliberate effort, an intention to ensure that something is done properly. So in that intention, now we have what they call planning and you have what they call scheduling. planning is for you to put all the resources required. Planning could involve you outsourcing your maintenance. There are some building that don't use an in-house for your maintenance. There are some AC I've seen in-house employed to maintain their AC. And there are some I've seen that they use an outsource company to get that done. Any one of them is good, but it depends on your budget, and it also depends on the resources at your disposal. The most efficient type is to outsource. Efficient but expensive. But for outsource, you don't need to worry because you are giving it to a competent company to run for you. But if you are going to use an in-house, you must ensure you have a backlog. You have resources, financial resources. You have all the tools. You have all the parts that is necessary for you to run a functioning site. Then this planning, scheduling now means you putting time and frequency of the maintenance. So this has to do with time and it has to do with frequency. Then if you are working in an estate, you don't maintain an estate like you maintain a hall where people are having events. An event, you can do your maintenance during the week. You can have it weekend. Most events, weekend, Saturday, Sundays are occupied. So most of the planning is done during the week. In residential, sometimes you will have various actions you need to take. Your maintenance might be well planned and scheduled. Then your client might tell you they are not going to be available. Can you fix it for weekend? Can you fix it for when I'm off to work during the day in the morning? So whatever be the case, you as an FM, you must know how to plan and do your scheduling. So once you put these two together, this will allow the equipment to be in good condition at all times before a problem or breakdown occurs. Somebody is waiting. Miracle. Somebody is waiting to be allowed in. I don't know. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you all hear me? Can somebody
Yes, we
unmute and
can.
let me talk? Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay,
Yes, he's
please let
not
me.
logging in with his name. That is why.
Okay, so can you just move it up? It's blocking what I'm actually reading on the screen. So please note the frequency of air conditioning maintenance depend on the quality of its environment. I mentioned this before. AC actually need outdoor air to cool itself. Just like your car, anything that moves, anything that rotates, anything that has to do work, if you're an engineer, you understand what I mean, generate energy. Just mere rubbing your two hands together, what happened? There's heat. Heat is being generated. How do you take this heat away from the AC? Now depends on how the ACs are installed. ACs are designed to be outdoor for the outdoor unit, and the indoor unit are kept indoors to ensure that there's enough cooling, there is enough cool air that is going around the AC. The AC itself, once it start working, there's a lot of heat being generated, and that heat needs to be taken out. That's why you have a fan in your outdoor unit. So the fan blows outward, and as it's blowing outward, it forces air round through the back and blows off the air through the compressor and blows them out. That is what brings about cooling. That simple principle is what happens in your car. I'm using that so that you can understand what I'm trying to paint. Your radiator in your car is in front of your car, and there are openings in front of your car. So when you drive, you move through the air. So air is intentionally forced into it, and there's air also forced out of it. And there's water within your radiator. The essence of the radiator is to ensure that your engine does not overheat. Because if your fan in your AC shut down, be ready for your AC to shut down. Because there's a particular temperature the compressor will get to, it will trip off. If it has a protective mechanism installed with the AC, it will trip off to protect your AC from being damaged. But there are some equipment that work till they die. You understand? Because if there are no protection there, don't say ACs are cheaper. Don't go for cheap things. Rather go for quality things at a cheaper rate. It's my idea when I go to market to buy. If they sell an AC for 700,000 and there's another AC for 300,000, you don't know the disparity in cost is there. But there are some components actually put in this 700,000 that the 300,000 does not have. Take note. Then in Nigeria also, one other thing we don't take into consideration is what they call the EER, energy efficiency ratio. The higher the value of energy efficient ratio, the more efficient your AC is going to become. So if the AC are installed in a very dirty environment, they can impact the AC functionalities. Just imagine somebody blocking your two noses. How do you breathe? You can't. That is what it seems when the AC is working and it is being blocked, or it is not properly installed, or the building done by our architect does not allow our AC to breathe. I've been to a lot of building on the island, even in the top choice environment in Ikoyi, they are failure in designing building. You don't make a building, then you did not consider maintenance plan. You did not consider how where will your workers stay to maintain. You did not consider where heat from your AC will be sent out of the AC. You block every other place. That's why you see in building, you see them hanging AC on a 4-story building. No access to the AC. You will enjoy the AC for the first 1 year if the AC is strong enough. But after that 1 year, once the AC start having issue, you will need to rent a ladder to have access to the 4th floor. If the outdoor unit is faulty, how do you bring it down from a 4th floor? And 4th floor, let me calculate, average height of every building average should be around 2.73. So I use 3. So if you are going to talk about 3 meters, 3 times 4, 4, what will I give you? 12 meters away from the floor. From that particular height, the technician can actually fall and die. The AC and the technician, when they are bringing it down, they can actually fall and die. So if you are in the design phase as an FM, you need to advise them that they need to create space for where the ACs need to be installed and the environment needs to be clean. AC must not be installed in a dusty environment. The place needs to be tiled. The AC needs to be hanged away from the wall, and the AC needs to be properly installed. If those are not done, be expecting more expenses in repairs and in cost you shared with your vendor. Then also ensure indoor air quality. Indoor air quality has to do with a lot of dirt that is in our building. You know, when the ACs are working and your cleaners are sweeping, what happens? You don't see the dust in your office, but the dust rises. And because of the virtue of how the AC work, those dust are sucked into the AC. And over time, the filters are blocked. The filters are blocked. And once this is blocked, it does not give the AC that time to work well. And if this continue, the cooling capacity of the AC could be affected. You see some of your staff complaining they can't work in the office is getting too hot, and you see that efficiency and productivity within the company is being affected because the FM has failed to do the needful. Then ensure that you check an environment where your ACs are installed. There are some ACs, bigger unit or equipment that are done biannually. There are some moderate one, which is a general practice to do your AC maintenance every quarter. Then there are some that are installed in a very dusty environment that you have to adopt a monthly maintenance. You know, if you are in a factory where the environment, your company might actually be tiled, but what of the road where your factory is installed, your factory is built? What happened? Because when the AC work, you need to suck the cool air within the environment. If it is installed, your factory is built in a very dusty environment, the AC will keep sucking in those dust, and every time it block. And I can tell you from experience, I worked about 4 or 5 years back. I work in a factory as an FM where the ACs are being maintained every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. At some point, the filters have to be disposed because the environment, when they were building the factory, they didn't consider that this would bring an impact to the AC. We keep having frequency shutdown in the mill. Then a lot of costs were going on. The only solution then was to find a way of reducing or tying the road to ensure that the dust are not being sucked into the environment. Then please note, every site have different maintenance plan. So do not apply what Kasali is doing in the maker's office. Neither should you apply what Aruna is doing in Bola's site. You must look for what is obtainable. I've explained here. Every AC, the standard practice is quarterly maintenance every 3 months. But if you are in an environment that is dirty, which is not your fault, you now need to change your procedure or your process to adapt to ensuring that the AC does not break down. So our major focus on the facility management system are the people, process, and place. Why is employee services needed in building? FN services are needed for these three major purposes. The people. The people could actually be the staff, could actually be your client, could be visitor that comes in and goes out, and could also be your customer. So a meeting point is the office where you are seated as an FM. So you need to take care of their comfort. You need to take care of their convenience while they are within the building. Then the process, what do they do? Are they a manufacturing company? Are they a corporate office? Are we in the library? Are we in the hospital? Are we in the stadium? Are we just find whatever condition you are, you need to know what is being done within that place. Why you need to know? There are some environments that humidity from your AC can actually impact the product of product being produced. I will give you a good example. All of us eat granite a lot. What happened when you exposed a bottle of granite to air for about 10 minutes or 20? It becomes soft because the quantity of water in air has impacted the dryness that the granite has within your bottle or within the plastic bottle that you corked. So there are some products that are dependent 100% on humidity. I give you a better example again. You see that some products, when you go to chemist, you see some drugs are in brown bottles, some are in blue bottles, some are in transparent bottles to tell you that those are actually light. But if they are exposed, what happens? Humidity, the quantity of water in air or dust can actually impact the quality of that particular drugs. So, but majorly, most of the ACF, FM I've seen, they are majorly in corporate office. So the other example I can cite in corporate office is your printing paper. If you are in an environment where papers are printed, humidity within that environment has to be within 40 to 55. Anything higher than 55, meaning there's too much water in air. When you are printing, what happens? The printer squeeze your paper. I've experienced this in a press where they produce newspaper. They installed an AC, which is not the type that is supposed to be there. But each time they produce, because they have too much water in air, all their paper turned out to waste because they didn't know what to do. So the only solution there was for them to buy what they call a dehumidifier. And we also have what they call humidifier. A dehumidifier remove quantity of water in air and keep your environment dry. Ask me who needs this. Those that stays in Ikoyi needs it because most of them stays along the water. The relative humidity you measure in that place. When I talk about relative humidity, I'm talking about the quantity of water in air. Sorry, I'm using big terms. I don't know the level of the student I'm talking to, but I will try and break it down. Humidity is talking about the quantity of water in air. You might be asking me, how is water getting into air? It's something you know, and I also give you an example. During Harmattan, what happened to our nose? Our nose get dry, right? But now that it's raining, you see that we can breathe very well. Our nose is well moist, then our lips are well moist. But when it gets to Harmattan, you see that your lips are getting dry because the quantity of water in air is very little. Then those of us that have stayed in the north, we understand clearly what I'm saying. There are some parts of the north, when you wash your clothes and you wash at the same time in Lagos and you dry, you'll be surprised the one in Meduguri, will dry within 30 minutes, and that of Lagos might take up to 2 to 3 hours to get dry. Because one, the rate of water being removed in Maiduguri is high because of the heat. And that is the principle they use in designing your dryer for drying your clothes in laundry. Increase the temperature, then you create some form of dryness. Please, this is AC. I'm only trying to explain so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. So that is process. So when you talk about the people, they also need humidity. Then in data center also, the relative humidity need to be kept at a particular value. Because if it goes so low to 20, that means the quantity of water in air, the air will be so dry that it can cause what they call static electricity. There will be spark, and the functionality of those electronics could be affected. So it has to be what? Moderate. I've seen building where they use what they call precision cooling. Precision cooling is used where in data center, in organization that needs it, in refineries sometimes, in some top places, electronics where they produce silicon and the rest, they need humidity. So irrespective of what happen outdoor, the precision equipment keep the equipment temperature and humidity at a particular value without varying it. Even if it rains and the humidity raises to 100, the equipment will automatically adjust the condition indoors. Then the last place you could also consider is the place. Location. When you talk about location, I make the example of Lagos and Maiduguri. You can't design the same AC for the same place because the same building with the same capacity of AC, those in Maiduguri will complain that the AC is not working, while those in say the AC is very okay. Even in short, you should give us smaller capacity because it's hot. One of my friends that in Maiduguri, what happened? They dropped the copper. If they want to sleep at night, they used to pour water on their mattresses. And once they pour it on their mattresses, what happened? By morning, the mattress gets very dry. That is how terrible the heat within that environment is. So that's enough of explanation on that. So air conditioning system makes it more not well maintained, could affect those 3 P's mentioned above. That is people, process, and place. If your ACs are not mentioned, are not well maintained, the people will be affected. You see people moving out of your building. If you have a rented apartment where people are paying for maybe paying up to 70, 60 million annually, some 100 million annually, and the AC is faulty. And if this becomes a norm in that building, you see your occupant moving out of the building, going to a better place. Then if you're in a shopping mall, people come to buy things in the building and they are not enjoying that environment. What happened at the end of the day? People start moving out of your mall. So AC is a critical thing that will increase the value of your. Then the process also need to be checked. What do they do? Is the AC enough for this process they are doing? Is humidity enough? These are questions you need to ask. Then you introduce that. Then you talk about places, location too matters. If you're in Maiduguri, if you are designing 1.5 horsepower for Lagos, you must design about 2 to 2.5 or 3 horsepower for Maiduguri. Don't use the same capacity so that the heat could be effectively be taken care of. Then why do we need to maintain our HVAC system? To create comfort, to make people comfortable in the environment, improve indoor air quality. Do you know that your AC can actually remove dust in air? Just like the air within your nose can also remove dust. Then they save you money because once you do all these maintenance practices, over time, you don't buy parts. Over time, you don't repair. There are no emergencies. There are no corrective measures. What happened at the end? Money is being saved. The budget you have budgeted for that year could actually be added for your promotion as an FM because you put the right things in place to reduce total breakdown, to prolong the system than equipment that are not well maintained, then to reduce noise level. You might say, what does noise level have to do with AC? If you work in corporate office, they don't allow noise, most especially when they're having meetings, board meetings. If you have worked within that environment, so you need to ensure your AC are as noiseless as possible, because if ACs are not being maintained, or they are maintained, a moving part is not well tightened, it could actually lead to a lot of vibration that could affect efficiency and productivity within your office space. To keep the humidity and temperature within regulated amount. So the AC also keep the temperature at a regulated amount. If you measure the temperature outdoor, you'll be measuring about 28 degree, 30 degree, or 35 or thereabout. But when you are in an AC environment, when you measure the temperature, you see that the temperature is within 20, sometimes 30, sometimes 22, 24, 25. What does that do? It means that means the environment is conducive for human to work. Don't forget, human body temperature is at 36 degrees. 36 degrees. As an FM, you must understand that. So for human being to be comfortable, the temperature must be low as possible. We have a body they call ASHRAE. ASHRAE, that is ASHARE. ASHRAE can be identified as American Society for Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. ASHRAE. So their body, they regulate the standard for air conditioning system worldwide. So your duty is to know the condition. For a standard room, for a standard room, an indoor air temperature required is between 20 sometimes to 25. 26 is also preferred. But the temperature is determined by your outdoor condition. Have you ever noticed when it rains, your AC cools more efficiently? Why is that so? Your outdoor unit is doing little work to remove heat because all the environment is cool. But if it is a sunny time, you see that the AC is doing a lot of work to remove enough heat. So thereby only little cooling might get into your space. Then if you are in an office where AC is being used or they are under design, you can actually use your window blind to further reduce heat that is coming from the sun. There's a part I also talked about that in details. Then don't forget, your AC also improve efficiency of your electrical equipment, your transformer, your panels, your data centers that has to do with electrical cable, they generate heat. So in order to ensure that these things are functioning well, your ACs needs to be installed in this environment to keep them running for a long time. Then to keep our data center running. Now, every company is going to the cloud. Every company is moving all their details to the cloud. Invariably, you might not have been aware, but you have cloud. Most of us that have Gmail, you'll be surprised that you have what they call Google Drive, and some have one box. And in keeping those information on Drive, because sometimes you will call for the information, sometimes you need to store. All those equipment are generating tons of heat that needs to be taken care of. And what takes care of that is your air conditioning system. And that needs to be what? Well maintained. Then to increase productivity, when you talk about productivity, you talk of your machines and you talk of human. If you want people to work well, create a good and conducive environment for your worker. You will get a lot of return in profit. If you put people at a temperature of 30 degrees, when they are typing, they are sweating. You see, a lot of time they are always cleaning their sweat. A lot of time they are going outside to receive fresh air. The productivity at that particular office is going to be cut down. But once you create a conducive environment, you see your staff working efficiently. They are not sweating. So take note of the maintenance culture. So then what are the key components HVAC maintenance have? Before that, we talked about HVAC itself. Before I mention those key components, we talk about HVAC. HVAC itself means heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. You might mention, why do we need heating? Nigeria has two major seasons, the rainy season and the dry season. In the rainy season, what do we need? We need some form of heating, but not 100% necessary. But there are some equipment that can actually heat and at the same time cool. They call them the heat pump. If you feel not comfortable or your environment is getting too cold, what do? You introduce heating. This is more obvious in Europe. where temperature can drop to -2, -3, where heating is required indoor. So if you have an AC that can work with heating, you turn up your heating, because most of the building, even in Europe, comes with installation of heating elements in the building. Then ventilation. Ventilation has to do with movement of air from areas where it is not needed out of the house where it is not needed. Moving air from where it is not needed to the outdoor part. Then when you talk about fresh air units, you need oxygen within the building. Then you bring fresh air from outside, you bring it indoor. That is for what they call an extractor fan takes the air out. Then you talk of ventilator that brings the oxygen into your building. So it is an equipment used then. It is an equipment used to maintain or control, also condition the atmosphere of the space within a building within a required condition. To maintain the environment, AVA system controls some factors. Your AC controls temperature, control the humidity, control air distribution, control the quality of air, and control the velocity. You might ask, what is velocity? Because the fan installed in your AC actually throw the air out to a particular point. If you go to some big hotels, you see that they don't have the split unit. They rather have what they call the ceiling concealed unit. Every ceiling concealed unit have a very high static fan. That high static fan can actually throw air to a far distance. When I talk about cold air, sometimes when you are taking tea, you want the tea to get cold. What do? You bring the cup of tea close to your mouth and you blow air into it. That is what I'm talking about, velocity. Sometimes you want the AC to throw air to a far distance. If you're in an event hall that is about 5 meters apart, you need to get equipment that can throw up to 5 meters. If you get an equipment that can throw up to 2 meters, then the rest 3 meters of the hall will remain hot. So that velocity also matters. Then there are some AC designed with noiseless fan. They call them the butterfly fan. You see, when butterfly flies, you don't hear the sound of their moving wings. So there are some design that comes with that. So when you are buying, you need to consider all these little things. AC that are not making noise. Then this is the standard I've mentioned for you for ASHRAE. ASHRAE is American Society for Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineer. They lay down guidelines that to guide us in everything that we do. So the required temperature for an office space is between 20 degrees to 24 degrees. So this is just a standard. You can actually go beyond or go lower than that. Then you can also go during summer. We don't have summer in Nigeria. We only have dry season, so we don't talk much about that. So we talk more. Okay, sorry, we don't talk much about winter. We have the dry time is what we talked about most, which is between 22 and 26 degrees. So the winter we have is more like the rainy season or the harmattan period that we have. Then actually set the standard. Then for the standard for relative humidity, their standard is 30 or 60. Don't forget, every product also have their relative humidity. These conditions are for humans. Before we understand HVAC maintenance, we need to know the basic component of AC system. This is a drawing, a picture of an AC. You see this is an indoor unit. This is the one we installed in our offices, and we have what they call the outdoor unit. In that outdoor unit, you also need to notice the connection. Every AC has inlet and has an outlet. So we have what they call the suction pipe, and we also have what we call the liquid line. The suction line is from the word suction line. What it does is that it's sucking the refrigerant within itself into the compressor. So let me see the next page. Okay, this one should explain it well. Let me just explain something here. This is the compressor you are seeing at this point. The compressor you are seeing at that point, you see where it is listed there. Then we have the evaporator. The evaporator and the condenser work the same way. They work the same way, only that one is designed to be indoors and the other is designed to be outdoor. Then the outdoor unit, the work it does is to eject the heat that is being brought by the compressor. Then we have one other component that does one other work they call the expansion valve. The expansion valve is just on top of the where is this thing not moving? The expansion valve is on top of this refrigerant. My cursor is not moving. So you see this yellow thing on top of the outdoor unit is what they call the expansion valve. So I will explain it more in this next page. So when you put on your AC, what happens next? Your compressor will start. And once the compressor starts, it does not start immediately. Sometimes it takes up to 2 minutes. Sometimes it takes up to 5 minutes before they become operational. What happened during those periods called the refrigerant oil that is installed in the AC on the in the compressor. So when you put this on, the duty of this thing is to what? To heat up this oil. And once it heat up this oil is what moves with the refrigerant around the copper pipe to further reduce friction between the refrigerant gas and the copper pipe itself, thereby gaining some form of cooling, not escaping from the equipment itself. So this is necessary that the oil is installed. The oil must be in the compressor. So if you notice an AC where the copper pipe is under stress, look around that copper pipe. For those that are very experienced in the field, you'll see some form of oil around it. I give an example also to portray my point. For those of us that cook in the kitchen, you see sometimes when your AC work extreme cold and your kitchen is under AC influence, what happened to your groundnut oil? What happened to your palm oil? They become a solid. And for you to use them, what do? You need to boil them. You need to heat them up. So those 2 minutes that you notice that the compressor seems not to be working, there is an heating element in the compressor that is actually heating up those oil so that they will be fluid enough to move around, because solid cannot move easily. So they need to be in that state. That's why you see that they spend that 2 minutes. Immediately they've gained that liquid form, the oil, gain the liquid form, you see that the compressor will just pick up. So, and don't forget, as the compressor is working, it's also compressing. From the word press is what they form compressor. They compresses the refrigerant in it. That compressor work like your human heart. We have vein and we have artery. As we have suction line and we also have liquid line. That is how the compressor works, just like our heart. So when you heat up the compressor heat up. It compresses the refrigerant. And as it compresses the refrigerant, what happens? The refrigerant gas become excited. And as they are excited, they generate heat in the compressor. So those heat is what you see this red line on the compressor part. Sorry, I'm measuring the compressor part. You see the heat. This red line on top of the compressor at the top. Just 1 minute. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can proceed.
Okay, let me go on. My cursor have just hanged. So I don't know if you are seeing the compressor. You see the gas moving out, and check the direction of that gas. The compressor works, it compresses the gas, then the gas becomes excited, the temperature and the pressure increases. That's why you see that the gases are excited. It is necessary I explain all these processes so that when you are maintaining your AC, you can know which of the procedure actually breaks down. Sometimes AC breaks down because of expansion valve, not compressor. Sometimes it could be your condenser that have issue, not your compressor. So this component needs to be explained. Then when you see the refrigerant gas actually go through, after it goes through, you see it travels straight from your compressor into the condenser. The condenser is what you keep outside of your building. When you pass in front of a condenser, you experience some form of heat being sent out of it. You see, that heat is what is coming out from your refrigerant gas. So as that heat is being ejected, what happened at the other end? You see something like a purple color in your condenser. As heat is being removed, As heat is being removed, what happens next? The compressor, the refrigerant gas is cooling down. And it's cooling down, the pressure is impacted a little, then the volume is impacted, then the temperature is also impacted. But the key point for the condenser is to remove heat. Then we have what they call the expansion valve. The duty of the expansion valve is to reduce the pressure of the gas. Then when the pressure is reduced, you see at this other point, what happened? You see that the purple now changes to blue. Blue indicate that it has gained what they call the refrigerating effect. If you don't want refrigerating effect, I use a more simpler term, the cooling effect. That's why when you touch your AC, the copper, one of the copper pipe is extremely cold and one is extremely hot. Those of us that have touched it, and if you have not touched it before, please try and practicalize it on site. You need to know how your AC works. The hot part is telling you the direction from your compressor to your condenser. And from your condenser to your expansion valve, you start noticing some cooling. But from your expansion valve to your evaporator, you will notice that the copper pipe is cool. Sometimes they start sweating. That's why you see your technician will use an insulation to further insulate it. So once that is done, the cooling effect now gets to the evaporator. The evaporator is the indoor unit you have in your house. You might have one blowing you in your office now, cooling you, making you comfortable. So what does this work of evaporator? Your evaporator actually has a fan in it. So once the AC is on initially, the fan also pick up. So what does the fan does? It work in what? A clockwise direction. Clockwise in direction is that it suck all the hot air from on top of the house, brings it through the evaporator coil. And because the evaporator coil is cool, sometimes to about 18 degrees, then a temperature of 24 mixing with 18 degrees, what happens to the temperature coming out? The temperatures are dropped. A good example of this is that when you are drinking a hot drink, what happened in some offices, they'll say, can you give me a cube of ice to further cool it? If you don't have a cube of ice, what do? You add cold water to further bring the temperature down. But for AC, all the hot air goes into your indoor unit, which is the evaporator. It interacts with the cooling evaporator. From that 28, 30-degree temperature that you are experiencing that is making you uncomfortable, making you sweat, making people to live indoors, you're surprised that that hot temperature mix with your evaporator and bring the temperature to that standard I've mentioned to you between 20 and 26. Then you start noticing some form of cooling. So that is how AC actually work. So other components, okay, this man. Other components that you might see in your AC are your evaporator fan. Evaporator fan is what I mentioned to you, work in a clockwise. It sucks air through the top of the AC and blows the cool air through the opening that is underneath. Then the condenser fan that is outdoor, it sucks air from the environment, blows it through the unit and eject heat out of it. Then we have electrical cable. You cannot run any electrical equipment without cable. Then Nigerian cable seems to be one of the best in the world, not in Nigeria alone. Nigerian cables are the best. Don't buy China cable if you want your building to be fine and not to be invited. If you don't want to invite a fire brigade to come and put out fire. Most of the building that have resulted in corporate offices, some of them are majorly from AC that were left on and poor installations. Then we talk about AC plug. On smaller units, we talk about plug. In bigger unit, you talk about breaker. In much bigger unit, you talk about distribution bus. Including in that distribution bus is a breaker tied to your AC. Then we have dryer. Dryer is in a bigger unit. The essence of dryer is that sometimes when you run your installation, fluid, water can get into your system and water is not needed. Because your compressor is made of iron, So if water gets in over time, what happens? Corrosion will set in and your compressor will fail. So the essence of the dry gas is to absorb the water and ensure the refrigerants are dry. Side glass is an indicator that shows the quality of the refrigerant that is passing through. There are some color code on it. Some of them shows red, some of them shows green and blue. They give indicator to tell you the state of what. Once it is blue, it's telling you it is what? It has water. Once it shows red, it means it is 100% dry. When it shows green, meaning there's some little water within the system. Then you have your temperature sensor. Your temperature sensor is the one that works in conjunction with your evaporator to further increase or reduce what? The temperature. So what it does is to sense the difference in temperature and work with the electronic gadgets you must have installed in your AC. You know, we human beings also have a sensor. If you want to test if somebody's temperature is hot, what do? You use your hand, most especially your backhand. You sense, this temperature, your body is hot. So that sensor is needed in an AC. If you can open your AC, you see one small bulb that is placed in front of your evaporator. It actually works with your remote, work with the evaporator and your expansion valve. Then you have your thermostat. Thermostat is a control that regulates this, different from a sensor. Then we have a capacitor. Your capacitor work with your compressor. Sometimes capacitor can fail. Then your people on site can tell you it is your compressor that failed, whereas it is what? A capacitor. Type of HVAC system. Air conditioning units are divided into two types. As an FM, you must understand it. They are non-ductable AC and they are ductable AC. It's not a big deal. I will explain to you why the difference. And these are things you know. So assuming I was in a class, I would have made it interactive, but online, I cannot converse with you guys. So I will ask a question now. You don't need to unmute and respond. If water is in your tank overhead, how does water get into all the building, into all the inlets in your building? Water gets into the inlet in every building through what? A water pipe. Another question. Electricity is being generated either from your PACN or from your generator. How is those electrical components generated passed into different buildings? Through what? Electrical cables. When we talk about ductable unit and non-ductable unit, we are emphasizing the medium by which AC carries air conditioning system that have been produced by your AC and taken to area where it is needed. And in doing so, you need what they call ducts. And such AC are called ductable units. The AC cannot work without a duct because where the AC is generated is not where it is needed. They are needed somewhere. So you now need to run a duct to transfer the AC to where it is needed. And in transferring it, you must use what they call fiberglass to insulate or a polystyrene to insulate. And the outlet could be a diffuser in different sizes. The diffuser is the connection between your ceiling and the duct that is leading to your AC, that is supplying the cool air. Then when you talk about the non-ductable units, the non-ductable units are units that does not require any medium to carry the AC. A good example is your split unit. It produces the cooling and supplies to you. The standing unit you have in our banks, the standing unit you have in large halls, you produce the cooling there and you spread it there. You don't need to transfer it. That's why they call them ductable units. So under the non-ductable unit, we have the split air conditioning system. Non-ductable unit, we have the split air conditioning system, which is your split unit, then the window unit. Under the split system, we have the floor mounted, we have the wall mounted, we have the ceiling mounted. So why they describe this is that where you install the AC is what is used to give them a name. When they say floor mounted, meaning the ACs are on floor. But those are old-fashioned AC. They are no longer in production. But you might be surprised. Some buildings still have some of these old ACs. You see some of them hang in the half wall. Some of them are just dropped on the floor. But that does not need too much installation. The one installed in the ceiling is called the ceiling mounted, and the one on the wall are called the wall mounted. Under the ceiling mounted, we have the ones that are exposed. Probably while you have the exposed type, you might have challenge with the air space between your ceiling and your decking. If there's not enough space, you can actually leave it open. If you have been to Landmark and there's some shopping malls like ShopRite, you see that some ACs are exposed. You see them while you are going. They only paint them black so that, anything that has to do with color, human being catches color immediately. But once you use black, everything might seem the same because you don't look top unless you are forced to look at the top. That's why you see most of those shopping malls, they have, please give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. I will join you 1 minute. Please, just 1 minute. Oh. Hey, Juro. Hey, Juro. Where is my... Please change to inverter. There's no word. If you would have opened inverter, I'm having an online training. Let's still be the talk about training. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I
Yes,
just
I can.
immediately went to switch to inverter. I ran out of light.
Okay.
Okay, can I go ahead, please?
Yes,
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I've talked about, I believe we understand the difference between deductible product and the non-ductable unit. So I've talked about this. Then when we talk about ductable system, we talked about the package unit. We talk about the central plant. Then we have floor standing and package air conditioning. Then we have the air cool. These are bigger equipment. So when we talk about the ductable unit, you're actually talking about chiller system. If you've been to places like Union Bank headquarters, you have been to Chevron, the oil, Escravos, Worry, so big companies like Shell and the rest. You see some of them have chillers. Chillers are installed outdoor, while AHU are installed in plant room. So those ACs those cooling are produced in this location and being transferred to where it is needed. You see it. So those things that you see makes AC different. So why I brought this thing in, you might be in an environment where a particular form of AC is needed. So you might be able to give your decision whether you need a ductable unit or you need a non-ductable unit. So the decision of choosing anyone depends on you. So I just run through it. We have the air cool. When they talk about air cool chillers are units that are installed outdoor, uses the air within the environment to cool the chiller itself. Then when you talk about water cool is being used to cool your compressor, your condenser, using what? Water. That water on is very expensive, but needed in manufacturing sector. It's needed in manufacturing sector. Then under the central unit, we have the expansion system, we have the chiller water system, chilled water system. Then we have the vapor compression, we have the vapor assumption unit. Under the vapor compression, we have the reciprocating unit. Then we also have the centrifugal. Then we have the screw type. All these AC, these are things you don't need to cram. They are very technical. They use different compressor to achieve different cooling. You see a stadium that people say they need AC. You don't just go there and install split units of 1 horsepower. They need bigger form of cooling. So this cooling demand a massive compressor. And those compressor could be a screw type, could be a centrifugal type designed to handle large amount of cooling within that particular space. So those are for your notice. Then when we talk about various examples, we have various type of building. Type of AC within the building. We have the window unit, which is the common type all of us know. This common type are used mainly in schools, higher institution, used in hotel, hostel, residential apartment, office space. They are one of the best form of AC, but they come with a great advantage. You have to open up a big space in your wall to install them. And in opening that, you leave room for criminals to actually drop your AC and come into your space through that means. So those disadvantages of the window unit now led to creating what they call the split unit. The split unit just open a little hole where your copper pipe can go through, your cables can go through, your drain line can go through, then your outdoor is now separated. The outdoor can be outside, the indoor can be outside. But for the window unit, you see that their installation, you ask, for the heat generated in the window unit, where does it go? They are designed together, but in an opposite direction. In the indoor unit, you have the cooling coming indoor. Then for the heat discharge, is done at the back of the window unit. These are the advantages of this, and it does not need too much expertise for it to be installed. Once you have your plug in, then you can plug. It does not need vacuuming. It does not need you to charge. The refrigerant are installed with the ACs. Then these are the split units I just mentioned. These are usually seen in our home and our offices. Some of us that are starting our personal businesses, this is what we can afford. At least we are enjoying it. Once you see a red line at the top, that red line is indicating heat from the space is going through the evaporator, and there's interaction with heat and the evaporator coil, which is cold, and what results in that, a cold air is being pumped out for your comfort. So this can be used in home, offices, school, higher institution. There are some big establishments that still go for this. Why? Nigeria does not have stable power supply. You see a building running on chiller system in the past. Because of the operational cost is increasing, most of them are now going back to using split units. Because maybe about 5-10 years ago, the operational cost of a chiller might be around 2 million, 3 million. But presently, running cost of a chiller, depending on sizes, has gone up to 5 to 10 million. And buying parts are very expensive. So how much am I making in my business that I have to use only 10 million to service my chiller? So most people are going back to split units. But for establishments that are that has the finance, they are actually going for chiller because they are very okay. Then we have another type they call the cassette unit. And we also have what they call the ducted unit. The cassette units are fancy type, work exactly like the split unit, but they are installed in level with your ceiling. This gives you all the benefit that there's nothing hanging in your room, nothing hanging on your wall, but you get the maximum cooling required. They usually comes with a pump, and that pump we need to be careful, because once your pump fails, what happens? Water drips in your office. So the greatest enemy of AC is electricity. The greatest enemy I've observed over the years. It's either NEPA is giving you too much, maybe you pay excess to them, or you are underpaying and they give you low voltage. And what happens to a low voltage? It destroys all your equipment in your building. It destroys all. And if they are not protected, you end up replacing most of your equipment. So as an facility manager, I will love for you to go to your various facility. You can actually bring a project. AVS can be installed in all your ACs. Quality AVS. AVS is automatic voltage stabilizer, or AVR, automatic voltage what? Regulator. The work it does is that it takes the voltage, analyze the quality of the voltage. You know, Nigerian voltage is between 200 and 240. Anything within that value is allowed to go to the AC. Anything short of that value, maybe you are getting 180 or you are getting 250. What happened? The AVS cut off that power supply because it can harm your equipment. That is a better project to do than to buy new AC when it gets damaged. Then we have the ceiling conceal type, which is also called the ducted unit. The ducted unit, the only advantage is that they can be kept inside your ceiling and they can throw at a far distance. So those are the advantage. They work the same way. They maintain them in the same manner, but their pattern or their manufacturing process might be different, but the same process is used for their maintenance. This is another type. Then they have some that are extremely slim. Sometimes when you are building, your architect did not take consideration of the headroom in your house between your ceiling and the decking. If they are so slim and there's no space, you can actually go for this other man here. Then there's a tray under it where water can actually drop. When your evaporator is working, there's every tendency that it can sweat. Why does it sweat? It sweat because heat meets what? A cold surface. And once they meet at a particular point, water starts dropping out of the system. So that's why you need a tray. That's why you need your drain in your AC to carry that excess water out of the building. And if those waters are not being taken out, what happens? The water flow back into your building. The water flow back to affect you in your building. Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I seems to have turned off my camera. Sorry. Okay. Just 1 minute, please. Okay. So we have what they call package units. Package units are combination of all these equipment, all these components I've talked about. All those components are actually things that can affect package unit are also designed because of space limitation. They could actually affect what happened in space. They could actually affect the design of the building. So they go for this particular thing because of what they actually need to run the building. So a good example is Freeman House. I think Shell building in Marina has this example. There are some few installation I've done too that goes for this unit. You see that the cool air is going at the top while the hot air is taken out. Any building you see that they have aluminum installation from down of the building running to the roof part of the building. Sometimes they have AC installed in those areas to allow heat to be ejected out of the space. Then these are chiller system. Chiller system are needed in bigger units. You know, as the cooling within the space is increasing, then those things are needed to ensure that the required thing is used. So as the space increases, the cooling required within that space also increase. So the chiller system are actually designed for bigger hall, bigger mall, a church, a mosque, a library, a stadium, any place that has to do with a bigger space and require cooling, that is where this is needed. They are expensive, but they are very efficient. Then this is an absorption chiller. This is another form of chiller that does cooling excessively in manufacturing sector. They and handle the required cooling within space. This is another type of cooling required. They call them VRF units. VRF unit is called variable refrigerant flow, and sometimes it's called VRV, variable refrigerant volume. So this brings together the disadvantage of all the things I've listed before. Even the chiller system incorporate all their disadvantage into advantages to form what they call. This has to do with variable refrigerant. You know, when you on your AC work continuously. The only way you regulate is to use your control. But for a variable refrigerant flow, it regulates based on demand need for temperature. Demand need for temperature. So if the space requires just one compressor to work, the one compressor shut the other compressor within the same unit down and now allow only one unit to work. And if it requires that the temperature is increased, it calls for other compressor to come up while it works. So, and it has the flexibility of combining various indoor or outdoor units. So you can use it with a window, you can use it with a ceiling conceal, you can use it with cassette unit, you can use it with a high wall unit, you can use it with a standing unit. And there are some VRF systems that has the capacity to also cool, also heat. If you check down here, all these ones you see with red are actually heating that space because different people respond to different temperature need within space. If you work in an open office, you understand clearly what I'm trying to point out. Sometimes when you increase the temperature within space, you hear, the AC is too cold. Some will tell you it's okay. Some will tell you it's too hot. Who do you follow? So some AC, where you have the general control, where people have access to, what do you do as an FM? You have to put a small control by installing something to lock. When your handyman goes around in the morning to lock up all this space, what happens? Nobody can further control all these things. Then we also have other type of HVAC system not listed in this presentation, but are used in various sectors. Have you ever asked yourself what type of AC do they use in a submarine? If you don't know submarine are ship that can go deep into the sea and they can also come to the surface of the sea of water. So just imagine you are one of the facility manager in a submarine and you are now recommending a split unit. How do you come out of the submarine to now do your maintenance inside water? That is not possible. There is another form of AC being deployed in these areas. What kind of AC is being used in ships? You know, our ship travel different oceans, sometimes spend months on the road. The kind of AC being installed there are rugged type of AC because they are exposed to salt, they are exposed to dangerous weather, they are exposed to different harsh conditions. The AC must be able to withstand that. If you use our normal AC there, the AC will not last up to 6 months before you start having or experiencing leakage or compressor is being eaten up or the outdoor component or the body is being eaten up. Then you talk about AC used in our plane. Most of us have entered plane. What kind of AC is being used? Another type of AC is being deployed. Then used in a rocket being launched into space. What kind of AC is being used there? So there are various types. So for this training, we have mentioned all kinds of AC. So as an FM, you can deploy the type that suits your need, the type that suits your client, the type that suits the design of that particular space. What are the problems with our AC units? AC units have all kinds of problems. So the problem varies in different ways. So what are the problems? The problem with compressor, condenser coil, evaporator coil, and your expansion valve. This is what your compressor look like. So it has something that turns inside. The issue is that rotor that rolls within your compressor rotate that refrigerant in a way that increases the speed of your compressor. It's just like you turning around a ball. You know, when you stand that you can throw that ball to, but when you turn and release the ball, you see that that ball will have gained enough momentum to have gone that far. I think that is one of the things they say kill Goliath when David was fighting. There's something he used that struck. If he has thrown the stone, he will not have killed. So what am I trying to drive at here? So that thing that turned inside the compressor pick up the refrigerant at a lower speed, increase the speed, and pushes it out. That rotation is what causes that heat. You see where the refrigerants are coming in, and you see where the hot one is going out. So what are the type of compressor? We have the positive display type, reciprocating is under it, rotary is under it. Then under the rotary, we have the single acting, double acting, then the diaphragm. Then under the rotary, we have the lobe, the screw, the vane, liquid ring, and we have the screw. Then the other type is the dynamic. We have the centrifugal and the axial kind of. You don't need to cram this. This is just for knowing sake. Then what are the possible problems? Low refrigerant charge. Our refrigerant, if they are charged, just somebody that is having low blood in his body will not work well. So if you charge your compressor so low, it won't be able to compress well. It won't be able to give the required cooling within your space. Poor ventilation can also be a problem. You talk of block suction line, poor power supply are the enemies of your compressor. Poor and bad installation. Sometimes most of the problem of AC in our building are bad installation. And once you experience bad installation in your AC, it ruins all the entire site. Customers are complaining, staff are complaining, clients are complaining, people are complaining, and your work as an FM becomes so hectic. Lot of calls, your customer care will be receiving call every now and then. ACs are not cooling. The AC you maintained yesterday are shut down. What is happening here? Most of the root causes come from poor installation. Some come from problem from factories. Some are bad capacitors. Some are wrong size of pipe. Every AC has a particular design pipe that are going with it. Sometimes it could be half inches, a quarter, but there's a manual that indicates all this difference. Then solution, ensure your refrigerant is within required standard. When you charge your refrigerant, some refrigerant can actually take 1 kg of refrigerant charge. Some can take 0.5. Some can take 0.8. It also depends on the length of your copper pipe from your indoor to your outdoor unit. Provide good ventilation. Clear your suction line. Ensure poor power supply. Ensure good power supply. Install your AVS. I've mentioned this before. AVS is automatic voltage stabilizer. You could also be called AVR, automatic voltage regulator. Then good installation. During installation, get company that are reputable to installation. So once you get a company to install well for you, you will have solved half of the problem that could come in the future. And ensure good product warranty. Your product is under warranty. So warranty, some other warranty can actually give you some benefit. If you do not break the warranty condition, if your ACs are brought and it fails within 2 or 3 months or within that 1 year, you can actually return the AC and get a newer one. Install good capacitor. Use the right pipe size. If they say the AC needs a quarter inch copper pipe to 3/4 inch, ensure those copper pipe is used. And in ensuring this, ensure the right vendor is brought to site. Ensure the right in-house person is brought in. As an FM, you will come with a challenge. Am I to use an FM, consult or outsource this facility maintenance, or am I to use an in-house? What is the budget I have in place? So these are things you will think of while picking up and ensuring you have a good maintenance culture within your site. Then this is your condenser. This is how it looks like. This is the one you have outside. This is the open version of it. So what you see inside is a fan. What you also see is a coil, and you also see a fin. Then your compressor is there. Then you have your capacitor installed at this other part here. So they work together to ensure your ACs are working. So what are the problem? Your condenser can be blocked. What can block your condenser? Dust. Poor installation. When you install your AC close to the wall, there's no air coming through the back of your AC, or there's no discharge of hot air away from your AC. You see the balcony is so high that the AC hot air is being trapped. It does not have anywhere to go, so it traps the AC and does not give good value or cooling within the indoor space. So Miracle, if it's time for break, please let me know, or I should just go on till I finish.
I think you
Hello?
can until you finish, because the time for break is
Yes,
past.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go
I
to
can go on
break
till I
like
finish, right?
6:40.
Madam, I'm just on page 43. We are going to 95, and you still have questions. So if you want me to run through it, fine, I will run through it. But if you want me to have 5 minutes break, no problem. So should I go ahead?
You can go ahead, please, if you have the strength.
Okay. Okay. Then block coil. Then we talk of bent copper pipe. So when your copper pipe are bent, it gives issue to your refrigerant moving through your condenser. Because once the copper pipe is bent, it impedes the flow of refrigerant. Let me explain with a hose. When you are washing your car and you are using your hose, if you block your hose, what happens? Pressure of that water returns back. And if the pressure is strong enough, it tears off the hose at a particular point, because there's a dent somewhere or there's a blockage. So just imagine the copper pipe that was to convey your refrigerant pipe is now compressed at a particular point. It affects the efficiency of those things. So when you talk about leak oil copper pipe, sometimes when you install your AC, the AC need to be fixed. When ACs are installed, you need your vibration pad that your AC needs to be in place. You need your screw, you need your nut, you need this to fasten them well, because when your technicians are discussing on site and the AC is close by, they can actually sit on it. They can actually move it. And you know that the copper pipe is a rigid metal. Once you start moving it, there's every tendency that the copper can shear or can cut at a particular point. And if the refrigerant leak out of it, what happened? The AC will stop functioning. It's just like somebody losing blood. When somebody loses blood, what happened? The person dies off. Your AC automatically dies off. So in order for your AC to work well, ensure your AC are properly filled. Either they are installed on your wall or fixed to the ground. And if you must fix to the ground, you need to drill your anchor bolt to fix them firmly on the ground. Nobody should be able to shake them. And when you are running your copper pipe also, make sure you run them and fasten them to the wall. If possible, you use your trunking to cover them on the wall, because there are some stubborn rats that can actually be eating some vital components within your armor flex, be eating up this thing, or something can fall and hit your copper pipe. So you need your trunking to further what? Protect them. What are the solutions? Clear the block coil with pressure washing machine. And one of the tools you will need as an FM is a pressure washing machine if you are using an in-house. If it is contracted out, you don't need to worry about any tools, because your vendor will come with their tools to do the needful and they go their way. Then ensure the fin are not bent. Then good installation, then block any leakages. How do you block your leakages? You need to pump down. When you pump down, identify the point of leakage. When you identify the leakage, cut it off. Then you call your guys to braze that particular part. Then when you finish brazing, you need to do what? To pressure test. The essence of pressure test is to test for leakage. When you pressure test, sometimes you leave it for 24 hours. That is the standard practice. But on site, you see people leaving it for 3 hours, 6 hours. You put it under pressure. That is what pressure testing is more like what your organizer do for your tire. when you pump air into a particular object and you seal it up, you now start putting soap water to see whether there are bubbles at some point. Or if you have the equipment, you can actually test for areas where there are leakages within your equipment. Once you identify that, then you've gotten the problem solved. Then good installation, I've mentioned this, then ensure the leakage is blocked. Then this is what your expansion valve look like. This is it here. This is a cut through section of your expansion valve. The work of the expansion valve is to reduce what? To reduce pressure of the refrigerant. If the pressure is reduced, temperature is reduced, that is when you see that your refrigerant become cold. Refrigerant gas that goes to evaporator coil becomes cold. If it is not cold, it will not give you the required cooling within the space. So this man, as small as it is, ensure you get that required cooling. It reduces pressure. So, and take note is some of the pipes here actually have an opening in them. That opening, if you are not careful, when brazing, and if the brazing is not done professionally, there are some dust particles of carbon that can actually block these tiny copper pipes. And once it blocks it, it does not allow refrigerant to pass through it. And once refrigerant does not pass through it, you cannot get the required cooling indoors. So this man is a vital component in what? In AC. So common problem, poor installation, poor phase change. When I talk about phase change, you know, water exists in three phases: liquid, solid, and gas. In order for water to turn from solid in form of ice into liquid, you need to heat it. There's a point it gets to where water exists, water itself exists, and ice itself exists. At that point, there's what they call a phase change. There's a change from that solid into water. Then once they gauge that phase change, they call it, I think, latent heat of fusion. So once it gains that particular heat, it turns directly into water. Your gaseous also does the same thing. Don't forget, when you go to buy gas to cook, there are some times when you shake your gas, what happens is as if there's water inside. But when you are cooking, you open it, gas is coming out of it. So there's a phase change taking place inside your gas. So this same process takes place in your compressor. So that phase change of moving from liquid into gas must take place. If that phase does not take place, you will not get the required cooling. So your expansion valve, ensure that is done. And there are fake products in the market. Don't forget our Chinese brothers also flood our market with fake things. Then some of our brothers actually bring them also in. Then we have what they call good installation. Proper phase change is required for your compressor to work well. Then use the right TSV, the right component. Then these are other type of expansion valve that you can see in various equipment. Their aim is to reduce what? The refrigerant pressure. Then we talk of the evaporator. The evaporator in bigger units look like this. Then in smaller units look exactly like this. The one you have in your indoor unit is exactly like this. Then your filters are installed in front of the evaporator, not below it. Because as it's sucking the hot air is coming with what? With dust. And before the dust could get into the AC, the work of the filter is to stop the dust and allow only clean air to go in. That is the work the filter does. So during maintenance, filter is one of the things that must be washed, pressure washed or clean. Then in bigger units, the evaporator filters are in different formats. So when we go to filters, you will see them in full force. So what are the issues you can gain here? The evaporator is made up of two metallic components, aluminum fin and copper pipe. The refrigerant actually travels through the copper pipe, while the aluminum fin's duty is to ensure equal heat is received and equal heat is taken out. If you use only copper alone without the fin, you will have various temperature equal number of heat coming in and going out, you need the aluminum fin. If you check your car evaporator, is designed exactly like this. Then what are the problems? Block coil, low refrigerant, faulty fan, gas leakage from heat coil, then factory error. Then solution, clean or pressure wash the coil. There are some coils that have not been maintained for years. Not only your condenser outdoor is pressure washed, sometimes your indoor unit need to be pressure washed. After maybe once in a year or twice in a year, you can decide that your indoor unit needs to be pressure washed. Don't leave them to work continuously for years without taking care of the evaporator, because there's no way your dust will not get into you. You know, if you look at our nose, in as much as the hair within our nose is blocking some dust going in, somehow, some little dust still goes in. That's why we have cough. That's why we have some other thing. Then don't forget also, during COVID, they have to add another form of layer, which is your nose mask, to further reduce what is going in. Then your nose air will cover some things, then you get a quality air going into you. The same process is also used for your AC. So ensure a faulty low refrigerant. These are the problem of your evaporator. Then faulty fan. If the fan is not working well, your evaporator will be, the fan is supposed to bring in hot, the require cooling the building requires. If the fan breaks down, it is not bringing the hot air, and your evaporator is continuing cooling until a point it starts forming ice on it. So gas can also leak from your evaporator coil. Maybe somebody threw something to hit it while they were maintaining, or it fell down from your technician hand while he was maintaining. So there could be a dent on the aluminum fin, and there could be a rupture on your copper pipe. So leakage can actually come from there. It is difficult sometimes to brace this type of unit. Then don't forget, some people are using aluminum coil and aluminum fin. Please, aluminum coil does not work well for Nigeria. Once you have aluminum coil, you are already running that site to failure. I've witnessed some sites that because they want something so luxury in their building, they went to buy AC from another country, bring it in, and they started having issue. At the end of the day, they have to pack the AC and buy a new one locally in Nigeria. Then factory error could also occur. Then what are the possible solutions? Pressure wash. Ensure the required refrigerant is in the unit. Every AC comes with their refrigerant. Just as if we have different blood type, we also have different refrigerant type. Also in our car, we also have fuel running our car, and you have diesel running in your trucks. Don't interchange. Once you interchange, you create a problem. In R22 units, do not go and put R410. Check well before you do it. If not, it can lead to an explosion on site. It's like somebody buying diesel in your car and buying petrol in a truck. It will not work well. So as an FM, you need to be careful at the point of what? Using your refrigerant on site. Check if you check your unit on site, there's always a written note by the side of your unit. If it is not there, it must be in your what? Your indoor unit. Those records must be kept. Those records must be what? Kept on your site. You must have inventories of all the things you have on site. So in case the weather washes them off, you can always have a paper, have an inventory you can always make reference to. If a unit is using R22 and you end up putting R410, you have killed that equipment. Then don't forget warranty too, and seal off any leakage within the core. These are filters I told you I was going to mention. Then in your smaller unit, the one indoor unit, these are the kind of filters you have in bigger unit. So they could be arranged in different ways just to accommodate the size of the evaporator. So the filter you use in bigger unit is directly proportional to the size of what? Your evaporator. If your evaporator is 2 meter by 2 meter, you ensure your evaporator filter is around that 2 meter by 2 meter. So you can add about 3 filters together, 3 on this side, 3 going down, 3 on the other side to form to ensure in operation. If it is not well covered, there's every tendency why it's sucking air through the filter. Some dust can actually enter the evaporator. Once dust enter the evaporator, it will not cool because it will block the evaporator. It will not allow the cool air that it needs to cool to pass through and for it to supply within the space. So you need to ensure the filters are well cleaned, and there are different type of filters. We have the HEPA filter that is usually used in the hospital, and they have the washable filter. They are the cheapest form of filter, but they cannot clean as well as HEPA filter. You understand? The washable type, you wash it, dry it, and return it back. And they have disposable type. Those disposable type are actually used in pharmaceutical companies. So once they have fulfilled their purpose, you throw them away. That's why you see the word disposable. So your filter can actually be blocked. That's why you need to maintain. Poorly installed filter can allow dust to pass through. Low quality filter that is supposed to remove dirt from air at about 90%, is now removing 50%, allowing 50% dust to go through. Sooner or later, your evaporator will be blocked and your cost of maintenance will go high. So you must buy the real filter to use. Then using the wrong filter can actually affect the functionality of your AC. Then solution, use a clean filter. Install filter properly or as stated in your operational and maintenance manual. Use the recommended filter. Every filter comes with a recommendation in different units. Don't mix different filter for different units. Then use the appropriate filter type. If you want to locally manufacture, make sure you buy what? The appropriate what? Filters. Then water leakage. Water leakage occurs when the condenser coil is poorly what? Charged or your coil is blocked. A good example to explain how your coil blocks is this. When you bring out a cold water in your glass cup, you drop it on the table. What happens around your glass cup? You see droplets of water dropping, right? This same droplet of water goes around your evaporator coil. Air is supposed to pass through it. Because the water droplet is there and dust has blocked your evaporator coil, no air is going through it. Because there's water on your evaporator, the evaporator will constantly get cool to the point it starts forming ice. That's why in some countries you have snow that fall, because the environment has cooled beyond 0 degree and water now starts turning into ice. That is why they fall as snow. In Nigeria, I don't know if we have experienced snow, but I know some parts have experienced hail falling like stone, and some parts have also experienced dew. I think every part of Nigeria have experienced. When you wake up in the morning, most especially you have grasses around your compound, go on top of the grasses, you see water droplet on them. This is the relationship between air and water. Dew point is when air cannot hold too much water in air. You have to allow some of them to go as water. That is what they call the dew point. That is the water you see on those grasses. So if that occurs within your evaporator and the hot air is not going, the essence of the hot air is to regulate the coal refrigerant passing through the copper pipe to remain standard. It must not keep going down. That's why the hot air is being pumped in. So if the dust now block it, what happened? The refrigerant keep dropping until those water now start forming ice. So the solution is to pressure wash, a serious pressure wash before those dust will be removed. So these are things I've explained. Then the other one you can also get water leakage is from your drain. If your AC is poorly insulated, then there will be water droplet coming from every part of your insulation on your copper pipes. You go to some AC, you can actually see algae, those greenish plants that grows around your AC. Is not a healthy practice for an FM to have that in their building. You need to use the right proper insulation for your AC. Instead of you to use probably 3/4 thick of insulation, you are now using 1/2 inch. And the 1/2 inch cannot handle the level of the refrigerant, then it allows some cooling to go through. And like I said, if cooling meets hot surface, what happens? Water droplet occurs. And if this thing have occurred over the years, they can affect the structure of your building. You are acting more like an FM or a property manager, and somebody want to come and rent your apartment. You now start seeing this thing on the wall. Do you know that this can affect the value of that property? The person can actually reject the property because of this little stain on the wall. Poor maintenance leads to all this. Structural defect. It may result in smell. If water gather too much in a place, what happen to it? It start bringing out environment or for your client. It may result in mold. Sometimes mold also form. And mold are tiny microorganisms that our eye cannot see. But yet they can pump harmful gases into the air that can affect what? Our health. Then growing of algae, backflow of water, crossing flood. You see your cleaner constantly cleaning a particular floor. They will tell you, "Oga, we don't tire. Every time we just clean, make them find solution to this AC now." You understand? So you put more pressure on your guys because the work is poorly done. Then it can also affect the fact cause a factor called the SBS, the sick building syndrome. There are some buildings you go to because the AC are not properly maintained. They also add up to the sick building syndrome. There are some buildings you enter, you will sneeze out of the building. There are some buildings you will enter, you will feel sick. But when you go outside, you see that you are experiencing some form of difference in the air within your space. You need to tidy up your AC because when water is available within your building, you give room for microorganisms to fester. Solution: good installation, proper installation of your drain line. Ensure your installation is properly installed. Ensure your installation is properly done, and ensure your discharge point of your drain is away from your gutter. If that is not done, ensure there's a U-trap along your drain installation. The essence of U-trap is that when water is flowing, it keeps water at a particular level. Don't forget, in our bedroom, in our kitchen, there's something that look like you in our kitchen. So when you flush, the water that is old, the new water that you flush, pushes out the old water out, and the new one take over. That does not allow any rodent to follow the water from outside through the pipe into the building, and it will also stop smell from coming in. And don't also forget that drain, if the smell is not well contained, it can actually affect the quality of your building, because if the building smell and you can't trace the smell, people will start leaving what? Your building. I'll talk about ice forming on top of your AC. So the only solution here is to constantly maintain your AC. Ensure your technician or your source company do a thorough maintenance if you notice this on your AC. So poor cooling, it can lead to compressor failure, because if the compressor is not receiving the right temperature to the compressor from your evaporator, what happens? You overwork the compressor. The compressor will assume, because there's a blockage and the cold air that is supposed to go in is not coming, the refrigerant air that is supposed to be warm going to the compressor is not warm. What happens? The compressor will assume that the indoor is extremely hot. So it will keep working at a greater efficiency and until it kills itself. But there are some compressors that have protective mechanism. That protective mechanism actually cut off this excess of working of your compressor, protecting it from breaking down or shutting down. But if it does not have, you need to replace this compressor. So I've talked about the solution: clean block surfaces with a pressure wash. Place your AC on PPM. Ensure there's periodic maintenance. Install your AC in a clean environment. When you have all this, it's environment that is dirty, dusty, not well maintained. So you need to orientate your technician about bringing dust into environment where you have ACs, because your AC while working can pick up the dust, and over the time it will block. Then remove every source of blockage through what? Pressure washing machine. Then your capacitor, a capacitor, it works like a juice. It's like a juice that eating up the compressor, because our normal power supply cannot power up your compressor. So the compressor work in congruence with what? Your capacitor. This capacitor you see here is a combined type. You see this HERM here, it is a compressor to the common, and your fan is taking your capacitance from it to work, and your compressor is taking from it. Once the capacitor fails, your compressor will not be able to work. So I give a good example to portray this point. You know, when you are working with a small generator and somehow you now on your stabilizer, they have to design a capacitor with your compressor. A capacitor is a substance that stores electrical charges. So when you on your AC, the charges it got from your power plus that of your capacitor boost up your compressor. That is what makes your compressor to gain that energy to start. And they are measured in microfarad. But if you go to the market, they call them UF. If you go and call microfarad to an Igbo boy in what do they call in Brownie way, they'll be looking at you. They say they don't know what they call microfarad, but just tell them UF. They will understand better. So in this compressor, if you must replace this type of compressor, the capacitor here is 45 microfarad. Then that of the fan is what? 5 microfarad. And they have a tolerance of plus or minus 6 degrees. You don't need all these details. Once the compressor is damaged, just snap it, send it to your vendor, let him bring just exactly what is bad, and you just install, then your AC is up and now running. So what is the function of the capacitor? The capacitor regulate or provide enough juice, that is power needed to start. So come in. Needed for certain part of the appliance to function properly in a central air conditioning unit, though a capacitor is required to provide a level of power needed. I've explained all this, so let me not dwell too much on it. Like I said, the capacitor need the compressor need more energy to boost. Your normal power cannot power it. That's why a capacitor that store electrical charge boost it up. So problem, poor power supply. AC motor makes a humming sound, trying to run but could not get. Sometimes you see your compressor wanting to run, making those sound is telling you the capacitor is faulty. Sometimes when you open up your AC by your technician, you see the capacitor has buckled. Probably it's overcharged. Probably it has worked throughout its lifespan and needs to be replaced. Then sometimes fake capacitor is being installed. Underside capacitor, a capacitor requires 45. You now went to the market to buy 20. It will not work. Then visual side. So what you can see in a capacitor, sometimes you see them, they swell. So that is a sign of defect. And some actually can get bad, but what you can do is to use your eye to choose it. Use the required power unit, use original capacitor, use the required size for your unit, then measure and confirm, that is supposed to be confirmed, of your capacitor is in good condition. There is a substance they call the capacitance, a capacitor measuring a device you can use to measure it. If you have a when you are measuring, your capacitance, there's that capacitant is like your multimeter. but not a multimeter. But this one is used squarely to measure capacitor. So you turn it to the level of your capacitor. If it is 40, make sure you put it within that range, between 40 and 50. So if it is something 40 and you measure 35, know that that capacitor is gone. And if it cannot give you something above, it must give you something below. But if it give you something just within the range, know that that capacitor is still good. Then you need to check your compressor if it is faulty. How do you check for a faulty compressor? You can test for continuity, whether there's current running through the body of your compressor. Your technician know exactly what we need to do. When we have our field trip, we will show you example of all these things, and you see it by yourself. Then what are the things you look out for when buying an AC? When buying an AC, as a facility manager, what do you look at? Brand of your AC. Some people will tell you they prefer Panasonic, they prefer Daikin. Some will tell you they like Carrier. Some will tell you they like LG. Sometimes it is your resources, financial resources, that determine what you want. And if your client is so buoyant financially, they don't care about the brand, you can go for the one that suits the needs of your client. But before you buy anything, ensure you carry your client along the way. If possible, send an email when you are buying new units. Let them be aware and let them give approval. You can buy a new unit, and once they fail, your client will deny that he's not aware of what you did. Type of refrigerant use. Presently, we are phasing out all refrigerant that has to affect the environment. We are phasing them out, like R22 is gone out. Ammonia is going out. But we are bringing in R410, R134A. We are bringing R503. There are many types. Even now, we have R32. That R32 are new refrigerant. They discovered that the global warming we are having and the greenhouse effect are being caused by what? Our refrigerants. Refrigerant being discharged into the environment, they go to the ozone layer, heat up the ozone layer, and allow the excessive heat of the sun to come to the earth, and the earth started heating up. So if you must use a refrigerant, use environmentally friendly refrigerant like R410, R32, R134A, depending on the unit and the compressor in them, and check the labels on top of the wheel. Then also go for equipment that are under warranty. Then energy efficiency ratio. The higher the energy efficiency ratio, if you have a unit of the same capacity, one is having 5 as EER, another one is having 6, please go for the 6. The 6 is telling you they will only use little of your power to give you the maximum cooling. You get the logic. You plug in your AC, it does not make too much demand for electricity. Now I hear that there's AC that I past my neighbor can actually put on. I've not seen, but I've heard. So what are they trying to work on? They are trying to work on little demand of electricity so that you can run well, because AC gives 40% of your annual operational cost in a building, excluding repairs. Excluding repairs. Then sometimes you talk about aesthetic of your design. Aesthetic has to do with beauty. You know, if you have most of us in the house, I want to marry a beautiful woman. I want to marry a handsome man. The man must be tall. In AC2, your client too is careful about beautiful units. Some by themselves will tell you they don't need high wall. Some will tell you they need cassette unit. Cassette units are expensive. And for you to install it, your decking must be strong enough. If not, if you install it on top of Oga and your client is sleeping at night in a residential house or in an hotel, you see the AC pulling out and falling on your customers, you can be sacked. So you need to test all this functionality of your structure before you jump into conclusion on picking AC. Even if you are installing a high wall unit, you must test the integrity of your structure before you install it. AC over time can actually fall. Your budget. Sometimes you have the best choice. Oga, money no dey. What is the purpose of the AC? Is the AC to be used in a ship? Is the AC to be used at home? Is the AC to be used in a church? Is the AC used to be used in a library? You need to determine the purpose. Then you need to also determine the maintenance plan for your AC. If you don't determine the maintenance plan of your AC, it becomes a problem. Because why will you want to maintain an AC? Then you find it difficult to lose some parts. You find it difficult to do some certain things. If you have noticed some trend, there are some small electronic gadgets being brought from China. This is away from our topic, but it's somehow related. What are they doing? Once a particular component get bad in that equipment, you have to go and replace it. And if most of us that are presently maintaining, you'll be surprised that PCB cannot be repaired in Nigeria. If PCB start having problem that it got burnt or component has issues, my brother, please try your best not to repair. Go and replace it. Because if you fix what you feel is the problem, you don't have that knowledge that some other things in that PCB has problem. You just go and install it. Once you put power in it, you see that excessive voltage or current is allowed to enter the system. The next thing, your compressor is gone. The next thing, you blow off one component, or you can even blow the same PCB that you just nearly bought. So you need to test a lot of things before you start doing it. Once something get bad, replace it. Then look for the equipment that you can maintain. Then, is there availability of parts in the market? In Lagos, what do they tell us? The car that has part more in Lagos is Toyota. Why will I want to buy a car that like Tesla in Lagos? I must have a company that have the parts in Lagos for me to buy. So your choices of maintenance, of selecting your procedure actually determine your decision towards your client. So if all these things are well practiced, you can minimize downtime, you can minimize emergency and any corrective work that needs to be done on site, then saving time and saving profits. What are the possible causes of HVAC system failure? This is just a summary. Poor installation. Our installers are very bad. When we are looking for cheaper things on site, we go and carry Kabiru just by the roadside that does not understand anything about AC. Maybe you see that he has muscle, he can carry AC. Muscle does not justify the level of experience somebody has. Somebody can be very tiny and more experienced than the muscular person, but you need both of them. To carry the man with the muscle should be there. To install, you need an experienced person to do that. So as an FM, you must ensure you bring the right person to site to do your installation. Poor design. Some architects actually sometimes from their drawing, they put AC installation in the wrong places. You want to do AC maintenance, you have to pass through a gas sitting room to go and do that. That does not make sense. Or you have to look for a ladder or a scaffold to go and do that. You want to maintain AC for 15,000 naira per AC, then you are renting a scaffold of about 100 to 150,000. Does that make economic sense? No. So you need to look at your design, where your units are placed at that design stage. Wrong HVAC system, where you are supposed to use 2 horsepower, you are using 1 horsepower. Over design and under design. When you over design, what happened at the end? You are paying more for power. It's just like somebody sewing ashwebi. You oversew the ashwebi to the extent when you wear it, you look like what? Lagbaja in the clothes. Then when you under design, you now look like what? Incredible Hulk. You know, Incredible Hulk is muscle with tear all his clothes. I'm bringing all these things that we see in movies and see in real life to explain the real things that you will meet on site. Because when you become an FM, time will come, you will remain alone. Time will come, your company will expect so much from you. All these things are making reference to, we give you an idea of what is expected, the type of people you need to bring in. If you're under design too, you see that people will start complaining. This place is too cold. This place is too hot, rather. How come there's no air coming to this place? The AC is working, but people are getting hot under design. Not taking into consideration the actual cooling load. You see some people will go to a place and say, Oba, put 1 horsepower here. For this other place, put 2 horsepower there. That one, put 5 horsepower. You don't just look at people and say, this is the size of clothes they will need. You can't look at people's leg and say they need this size of shoes. You need to do proper measurement. The same thing happen in AC. So I myself, I design for people. I can do load estimate for any building, any stadium, I have a software, and I can also use some other handouts that you can use to design. Is a laborious, because when you want to design, you need to know the number of people that are involved there. Do you know the number of people within the building determine the heat that is generated? If you have one person within the room, it's okay. A good example, yes, I remember. Good example, when I used to be in school then, when we go to, when daddy transfer money to us, we used to go ending of the month. When you go to some banks, you see the AC that worked 2 weeks ago. Because people are withdrawing from bank, then there's no ATM was not come. People are still using tally number. You see a lot of people packed within the same space. You see that the ACs are working, but they are not cooling because people generate heat. And if we are up to 1,000, if I am giving heat out at 2 degrees, multiply that in all around, you can imagine the volume of temperature that we are supplying into the space. Then we talk about no redundancy in design. In your server room, you need redundancy. Redundancy means a little bit of over design, not for the purpose of cooling all the unit at once. Please take note of what I'm saying. In a place for data design, they need a cooling of 5 tons. So a redundancy is telling us design for 8 tons. They need 5 tons, design for 8 tons. But on equipment that are 5 tons, the other 3 tons, leave it as redundant. The essence of that redundant, if one of the 5-ton AC shut down, you just remove that one, you activate this while you are maintaining this. The essence of that is that you have continued operation of your data centers. Poor dot installation. Some units that require dot. If the dot is poorly installed, your dot will start whistling. Whistle. Your dot sometimes work with the same principle of your flute. Do you know when you give, okay, let me use trumpet. If you give trumpet to a child, will a child be able to blow a trumpet? No. But can an adult blow a trumpet? Yes. Because you have enough energy to pump air around it and press the key and produce the desirable sound. But for a child, it doesn't have that energy to pump. So if you install an AC on the site and the AC cannot pump the required air through the dot, most of the cooling will be going back, or they will just stay within the dot, they will not be discharged. Dot might be okay, but there are principles guiding dot installation. There are formulas, there are numbers, there are parameters that must be used to get the actual dot design required within space. For maintenance culture, we already know that the result. Purpose of the design, there are some churches that dance a lot. You understand? You now want to design a design for a library, for a church that dance. People that God has blessed, they are thanking God, they are all sweating. And he sweats too much. Somebody that's supposed to drop dollar now mistakenly drop naira. You understand? The pastor will not be happy, or the person on the podium will not be happy. So you understand? So sweating, you might not see it as something that can impact. But if you invite people to an event center, and you have this event center that you have cloth or this thing that absorbs too much heat, and the ACs are not working properly, most of them will go outside and stay. And they will miss up all the events, all the agendas they are supposed to partake in because your ACs are not working. So that could actually impact. Then, not available, no part available for a particular brand. You buy a particular brand, there's no part available. Though that can also affect. Not considering power issue. If you must buy between 1 horsepower to 5 horsepower, I always encourage go for single phase AC. Don't go for 3-phase. Nigeria, sometimes when there is power, the 3-phase will not be complete. There will be power, but your AC is not working. So you have to be at the mercy of what? Your generator. So you can stop that habit by using the right unit. Then, not considering the building type, like 3-story building, 4-story building. I mentioned people installing AC, 2-story building, 3-story building, that they have to climb a ladder to bring AC down. If you are there at the design stage, you can advise that if the design could accommodate a balcony with a free flow of air out of the AC, that will solve it. So people can easily come in, do their maintenance, and go out. You don't need to climb ladder because it can lead to fatality on your site. Then bad AC installation. But you see this bad AC installation, these are common in some building. How can you be climbing this high of a building to do maintenance? If you hear bad news that you have not been paid or you have been stuck on top of this thing, tell me what happened to this guy. You see him down on the floor, or he hears a bad news, or people are running for their life, there's emergency or fire alarm. How does he come down from this place? And the person holding the ladder from him will run for his life, leaving only this innocent man on top of this. So I don't advise AC. So if you can install on first story building, second, but when it's going to 2 to 3, try your best to desist from it. It's not a good design. This look appropriate, it looks appropriate, but there are disadvantages. This is the way the guy stood on it, but it's still okay because they are working what? Safe. You see the AC, where how they are installed, the person doing his maintenance is standing on a level ground to do his maintenance. Then, no, before you take over any facility, you must carry out a conditional assessment or audit of a facility or building. Generate a report, share with your clients. Let there be a solution for the assessment you carried out. If possible, have a budget for the solution. Point out the cost saving and energy efficiency. So we are talking about conditional assessment. What is this saying in all? If you must buy a car, they say go with a mechanic, right? What is the role of that mechanic? Is to test the sound of the engine, test the tires if they are working, test the car, drive it around and see whether the cars are working. If there are issues there, the mechanics will call you aside, so guy, I beg, not buy this car. And if the thing is okay, we say, okay, go for this car. This car is good. That is what you do in an audit. You test all the components, all the assets you have to take care of in that building. You take list of all the assets, test their workability. Either you go with your technician that have the knowledge, or you call your source company that will help you to maintain the building. So those are the ways you do your conditional assessment. You do not only for your AC, your generator, your lift, your swimming pool, your water treatment system, your sewage treatment system, even your gates. You do maintenance for all those components, but this focus of this training is HVAC. So you must do an have record. So you do your checks, you visit the site, inspect, you check for physical defect, you check for any internal defect, either with tools or any machineries that is at their disposal. Mark where you need to mark, say no where you need to know, then tell your vendors to give you a code for the remedial works. And this code should be tabulated, cost shared with your clients. So I'm just giving a summary. Step required for carrying out the audit is that gather building design. Sometimes you can get data from building design. Not everything within the building you will be able to see clearly. Because just imagine you are to do an audit for a 1004 housing estate, you will have a lot of problems. But if you have a design, you can actually go through that design and it will point to all those locations. Then you can now do your physical work to all those things so that you will not miss out on components you are supposed to audit. Visit the site location for the audit, identify the problem that could affect people, process, or place. Define the profit that must be generated. You understand? A report must be generated, and this report must be what? Must be shared. After the audit or assessment must be prepared, and a checklist for his or her staff to monitor the condition of your HVAC system. You must know how to draft your checklist for your AC, and that is the clue, considering the things that could go bad in your unit. So the essence of checklists are used every day. The essence of checklist is for you to check physically what could go wrong. If you have an source company, they could do that for you. If you have a technician on site, they could actually do that for you. One, check the compressor, check your electrical cables, check your evaporator, check your this. Before something go wrong, they already have the signal, and you carry out a preventive measure urgently and immediately to correct it. Then you as an FM, through your admin, you can send an email. If you don't have admin, you yourself do your report and say, do your routine spare a check. This is what you discover, and you put a check and a stop on it. This is an example of a checklist. Then on a planned preventive maintenance that we've talked about, The planned preventive maintenance allow you to substantially reduce reactive maintenance. When we talk about reactive maintenance, we are talking of reactive maintenance that has to do with if the thing does not get bad, you do not fix. There are time-based preventive maintenance or a fixed caution frequency of the activity that generates a calendar schedule. So what this is telling you is what I've mentioned before. You need effective planning and you need a schedules for all these maintenance plan to be done. This is another breakdown. We've talked about this before, so I will not spend more time on it. We are on 70 and we have 25 pages to go. Miracle, I hope I've not spent too much time.
You've actually spent a lot of time, sir.
Okay, I will run through it. Then this is a schedule.
Okay,
the schedule, I will run through it. The purpose of schedule is for you to have a constant reminder that a particular equipment needs to be done. Presently, you can use your phone through Google Calendar. Do a reminder, 1 week reminder, 3 weeks reminder on your Google Calendar. You could also use if your company have the lottery, you can use computerized monitoring and maintenance system. Then you could also use your paper, your Excel. You can actually draft a particular PPM, print it in a large paper and put it on your notice board. Every morning you come, you check equipment that needs to be maintained and give notice to your vendor or give notice to your team what they need to do. This needs to be displayed where everybody can be seen. It can be seen. HVAC installation factors and tricks. So in AC installation, what you need to consider are what introduce heat into the environment. One of the things that can actually boost up heat is using window blind. There are some buildings that have all glasses in the office. So when you have glasses in the office, what do? You succeeded in introducing extra heat into the building. Have you ever parked your vehicle under the sun? And when you open it, what do you experience? Excessive heat coming out of it. So what they do when you know that your AC is overworking and to save the light of your compressor is to install a window blind. The window blind actually serves as trapping the heat between the glass and the window blind itself. Then outside the blind to the office, you'll be surprised it's cool. When you go close to the window, you experience a form of heat. So what are the things that introduce this heat? Human, electrical equipment, light, the solar heat gain. Solar heat gain is the heat from the sun. Location of your building, whether in Lagos or in Maiduguri, activities carried out within that particular space. AC installation tips, strength of the wall. I've talked about that proper spacing between the wall and the AC for your outdoor unit. There must be space between the appropriate installation height from the ground. Correcting angle of your indoor unit. Correct location of your outdoor unit. You must put it away from a dusty environment. Proper placement of your outdoor unit. Right distance between your indoor and outdoor unit must not exceed 12 meters. Use the proper electrical cables, Nigerian cable. Use 15-amp plug and above. If you must use a breaker, do your calculation. Tell your company to do that or your vendors to do that, then you get it done. Then proper vacuuming of your AC. Ensure there's no leakage. Then use the proper refrigerant. Ensure thermostat is well installed. Different type of AC installation you may find. These are AC type. You see how the pipe are well run. You see the trunking. You see the electrical cable. You see this A ladder, and you see that the technician is well kitted for this task. Then on top of your roof, you see how your cable wires are well placed in a cable tray, and you see how the AC are lifted above the ground. In case they are flawed around that area, it will not impact your ACs. Then ACs that have pace challenge and people are not subject to what? This might be a residential environment that people want to have control over their AC. At least they provided a space on the roof where all of them can install. Just imagine they have to install this on the floor. They will deface the building, reducing the value of that building. This is one of the equipment I delivered in the past to one of our vendors in British Tobacco. This is a chiller system that was installed. There are processes for installing a chiller. You don't bring a chiller and drop it on the floor. There's what they call a plinth, a foundation that it must be put. But before you drop it, there must be a rubber band between the chiller and the plinth. The essence of that rubber band is that vibration should not be transmitted into the solid and vice versa into the unit. Because if the vibration is in excess, all the shield water pipe will start rustling, because when you start hitting something that are rigid, with time, something will give way and it will affect the functionality of the equipment. This is another VRS system installed. Why I intentionally put this thing in is to let you know that when you are installing a sealer system in different floor in this category, you need to do color coding like you have in your electrical cables. You have the yellow, you have the green, you have the blue, and you have the red. All those things indicate the purposes of all these things and how you need to connect or install this thing on various sites. Just imagine they have issue on second floor and you are telling somebody to go to fifth floor. Because he cannot identify the copper pipe, he caught that of fourth floor. He has added another problem to the problem that you previously prepared. So by color coding, you can use blue tape to round up the ones that are all second floor, use yellow for all the ones at third floor, use red for another floor, and vice versa for other floors. Then this is a typical AC. And in all the tools you will need a manifold gauge. A manifold gauge looks like these tools that your doctor puts on your chest to check your pressure. So what this man does, he checks the pressure of your AC. It could also be used to discharge. It could also be used to charge your unit. And it can also be used to do one or two things, and there are various types. Don't use a manifold gauge of R22 for R410 because various refrigerants have different pressure. If you put a R22 for R410, it will puncture it when you are using it. It will puncture hole into your manifold gauge. Then this is a digital type, and we have the manual type. Then ventilation. The essence of ventilation is that ventilation is the process by which clean air, normally outdoor air, is intentionally provided to a space. That is, you bring it into a space and stale air is removed. You know, when you are hot, when there's no fan, there's no AC, what do? You intentionally blow yourself with a piece of paper. What are you trying to do? Remove the hot air from your body, introducing a cooler one. Instead of doing that in that way, some buildings actually build against incoming air. So the incoming air find their way directly into the building. Those are called natural air, natural ventilation. Then the one you force into the building using a medium or a fan is called the mechanical type. And there are some buildings that you have to use the combination of those two to achieve the ventilation required in a building. So this is what I've explained now: mechanical, natural, then mixed mode ventilation. Then this is the fan that does the work in bigger units. We have ceiling fan. We also have extractor fan. In AHU, we have a fan. This is the fan here in our air handling unit. Is the one supplying the air. This one is bringing outdoor air, an economizer, a mixing board, then a return air. We have a cool water heating element, heating element, then chilled water element, then it has a fan. The duty of the fan is that once the cool air is achieved, the fan actually carry it to where it is actually needed. Ventilation is needed in kitchen to remove smoke or smell, needed in toilet to remove smell, needed to supply fresh air into space. All kinds of air we have are fourfold. We have the supply air. We have the supply air is air coming into space. Return air is air that is coming back. Then exhaust air is air you don't need that needs to go out. Then outdoor air is the one that you need to bring from outside into the space. Why do you need it? It has oxygen. Because if you stay in a place too much, you deplete the oxygen. That's why you see sometimes you need to go out to receive fresh air. Sometimes you open your window to receive what? Fresh air. Then this is a heat recovery. The heat recovery combine all these things together to gain more cooling for air that is supposed to send out of the building. So it is needed in space. Then there's a component also called a ventilator. You go to a building, only ACs are all installed, no ventilator. You see your staff gasping for air, people having red eye, water coming from their air because they've used up the oxygen. Oxygen is not coming into that space, and that can affect your health. Then this is what they call air handling unit. After chiller cools the water, it sends it into the air handling unit. The work of the air handling unit is to clean the air through the filter, cool the air through the chilled water coil. Then the fan pump the air into space that it is required. This is a smaller form of what I've explained. These are filters at this point. These are the heating coil, the cooling coil, and this is the fan that takes it to where it is needed through the ducting line. Filter have the things that we have there are filter, heating coil, cooling coil, fan for air distribution, economizer, heat recovery, then cleanup boxes. In conclusion, a small investment in your air conditioning system, preventive maintenance, or servicing offer multiple benefits. A well-maintained air conditioner performs better even when it becomes old or might work beyond its lifespan because of your culture of maintenance. Users should consider spending small amounts now in preventive maintenance service instead of wasting a lot more in repair works or replacement after the damage is done. A lot of people have lost their job in accordance to poor maintenance on site. Thank you very much. Now time for questioning. Time for question, please. Do we have anybody hands up? Hello? Okay, Grace, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for the extensive explanation. We're so grateful. Please, I want to ask a question about when your window unit is making so much noise, even though it's cooling very well, but it's so loud. What could be the problem?
There are a lot of things that could lead to it. Your compressor can actually produce noise. If the oil within the compressor is dry or they didn't put enough oil in your compressor, when the moving component I explained to you are moving, what happened? You start, two iron are rubbing themselves, you start hearing noise because it's working continuously. Then it could be as a result of a mechanical thing that's not well tightened. Then heating themselves could also be a source of noise. If they are not well installed, can also result into it. If it is a perpetual problem, you can invite me or invite my team. We can come to the side and help you to look at it and provide a solution. Is it a split unit or a window unit?
It's a window unit, sir.
A window unit. We need to lose the equipment down and check where we will now, after we losing the case, we'll now on the unit and see where exactly the noise is coming from. It will have to be inside the unit.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
No problem. Philomena, you can go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for the lesson, although I joined late, but I got something. My question is, you talked about a capacitor. My question is, do a good capacitor, does it have a lifespan or it can go bad at any time?
Yeah, you know, Nigeria does not produce. The quality of our machineries is actually dependent on people's products. And one other thing I also did not mention, you know, China has cold temperature. They also have hot temperature. Sometimes they produce for their markets. They don't produce for Nigeria that is in a heated environment. All those factors can actually affect the quality of your product. Even your car, a car that is produced, brought to Nigeria and used in Lagos, and the one you use in Maiduguri, you'll be surprised the one in Lagos is heavier when you measure the weight to the one in Maiduguri, because iron absorbs water over time. So you understand? So it depends on usage also. And it depends on how it is being used. So once you identify this, you will know whether it is okay or not. In as much as I say reactive maintenance is not okay, there are some equipment that goes bad. So in order to curb those excesses, for your capacitor, you can buy about 5 or 10 pieces of that same capacitor on site. So you don't need to be rushing to be buying that as an emergency product. So it depends. The manufacturer, how it is being used, and how it is used. Do you understand? You don't expect equipment that is used for 8 hours and the one that is used for 24 hours every day, like our data center for FTN, Airtel, and the rest that is running constantly. You don't expect them to last longer than the one you use 8 hours. You understand? So it depends. So I hope I've answered your question.
Very
Philomena.
well. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I have Idris up. Akinyemi, you can go ahead on mute. Then you go ahead.
All right, thank you so much for the class. So, you mentioned that aluminum coil AC is not good in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah, so which one is recommended in Nigeria? I didn't get that part well, please.
Copper coil and aluminum fin. Copper coil
Okay.
and aluminum fin. You know, the
All
problem
right.
with aluminum, once aluminum is shared or stressed and it has a cut, what equipment will you use to braze it? You might be surprised the person that want to braze it will say, oh God, labor na 50,000 for me alone. Then the equipment, I'll go rent them. The equipment about 200 and something thousand just to block a hole. Aluminum require a special form of brazing. So you should note that.
All right, thank you, sir.
No problem. Please, any other question? If we don't have, we have overspent our time and we need to go. If you have, you can raise, I can permit one other question. But if we don't have, we call it a day. Miracle, can we call it a day? You have more female in the class, in this class, than any other I've ever attended.
All right, thank
Is
you
it
very
a,
much, sir.
I say you have more female in the class today. Is it a plan work? Hello? 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 Okay, they are going off. Okay, I have to go. We see in class for those that will be in the class and those that will be on the field trip. We'll see in class. Take care of yourself and have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, now bye.
All right, bye, sir.
Hello.